It's December 6th, 2021. This is Rook. He is an Iranian teenage genius who was dreaming up new inventions at the age of 8 in Tehran. After winning awards and acclaim in his homeland, Erfan Nouraee emigrated to Canada at the age of 16 3 years ago, where he has promptly received more prizes, been congratulated by the Premier of Ontario, chatted with Obama, become a youth counselor, and taken on the cause of mental health. Last month, Airfon was awarded the United Nations Bronze Medal for Invention in 2021, representing Canada. And today he's here in the Roqe Studio for a feature interview. Plus, we have your letters and a debate about Persians supporting arts. This is Conversations from, to, and about the Iranian diaspora. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. This is Rook. Hi there, welcome to episode 158 of Rook. Hope you're keeping well wherever you're tuning in from around the world. Hello to you from Toronto, from Canada. Salam Dostan Aziz, Durud Bar Shama, or Durud. I'm still trying to figure out which one makes me cooler. If I were to just say Durud, am I cooler?
None of them, actually.
Thank you.
You have to forget about Durud.
You have learned how to
I thought
speak.
Durud was the cool thing. What do I have to say? Chakerem or something?
Yeah. Salam alaik.
Salam alaik. Like,
Nah.
I have to slur salam alaik?
Yes.
But Durud is like the most formal thing.
Oh.
you can say.
I love it.
I thought because the dude, you know, the Behzad, you know.
So he keeps trying to because salam is an Arabic word. Durud is a Persian.
And we're Arabs, right?
Oh, yes.
So wait a second. I thought, so Durud is not cool.
Well, it's not that it's not cool. It's a little old-fashioned.
I don't mind old-fashioned. Khamas qaronat.
That's definitely Arabic.
Between Durud Bar Shama and Durud.
Durud is
Which one would I say and have you continue talking to me at a party? Neither of them?
You say Drood, I'm walking away, bro.
Wow, see what these guys teach me? I thought I used to say salam, and then they said say durud, and now they're walking away from me. You see? Droves.
I'm saying hi to this guy. He's saying weird
Like,
stuff.
whose weird uncle is this?
Salam azam.
Salam.
Hal shoma. Sad sal bin salha.
قربونت برم.
Turn into radio porn.
Erfan Nouraee. Listen, there's been two major inventions young Airfon has presided over. By the way, he's coming in the studio in just a little bit. Ready, Keon?
Yeah.
The photoelectron particle detector. Mm-hmm. And you know what that is, obviously. And the photon analyzer system for the analysis and noise reduction of optical signals carrying digital information.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
I mean,
You can't even say that, and he invented it.
That's right. I was just going to say, he invented things that you don't understand the title of.
I can't even pronounce. Yeah,
that's right. Erfan
Good for
Nouraee.
him.
This is definitely going to be one of those. I have a feeling. We'll see when he comes in here in a few minutes. But this is definitely going to be one of those interviews where afterwards we'll all feel bad about ourselves. Especially, I mean,
isn't that every interview?
It is pretty much. But this one, I mean, he's like 19. You know,
yeah.
And your life will just be like,
I can just
why bother?
hear my mother crying inside. Why couldn't that be you?
And Reza's mother crying on the outside. She can't hold it. Can't hold it in any longer. Yeah. This is just a disaster, my child. So Erfan Nouraee, this kind of whiz kid in Iran, and then moved here. By the way, his English seems really good too. I don't know. He moved here like a couple of years ago. I guess part of being a whiz, you're a genius. You just speak well. Yeah. But he's also said, I mean, I'm going to ask him about this, but he said he didn't receive the support that he had hoped he would get in Iran, which is a bit weird to me because he's in the sciences. He's an I thought that's the place that we do give support in Iran, compared to, but it's nice to hear that not only is he getting the support in terms of research and development dollars in Canada, but he's, Canada's really embraced him. I mean, it's really nice to see him winning these medals and representing Canada. And he's only really been here for 2 or 3 years.
That's actually. Yeah,
I mean, Canada still sees Shah as an immigrant. Why is this person in the country? But with Airfon, we're like, hey, the premier is sending text messages. And
quite selective with our immigration system.
The other thing, by the way, hello to Captain Reza.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Groovy Shah, the beautiful Groovy Shah, and the fabulous Keon.
Hi, Jian.
Hi. I also want to make sure people know we're going to get to letters at the end of after Airfon. And we got a bunch of letters. I guess we did the interview with DJ Aras, and then we posted a moment of that where he was very candid. This is a guy who's worked in the entertainment business, Persian entertainment business, throwing parties, DJ events, etc., for many years, and has been quite successful at it. And he was Rook. I mean, he went to town, kind of saying, I don't believe the Persian community is supportive enough of culture and the arts. These are all the problems I've had. This is where we've got a bad reputation. And I loved his candor. Now, I know we've gotten a bunch of people who've written and said, basically, how dare you, right?
Yeah, paragraphs.
Why are you guys shitting on Persians? And I have to say, we've heard this before. Every time, we do something on this show about why Iranians can have racist tendencies, or Iranians have this issue or that issue, we get people writing and going, why are you saying bad things?
Here's what I don't get. Do people think that Persians are perfect?
It's not just that, but I just want to restate that this is part of the mission of this program, is to talk to each other the way a family addresses issues within the family. Now, if I'm going somewhere out in society, for years I was on the CBC talking about Iran, Iranians, Persians. I would almost never say a bad word unless I was talking about something political to do with the regime or something. But if I'm talking about the community, for the larger community, obviously we want to speak not in superlatives, but we want to buttress the positive sides of our community that don't get seen in a wash of negative generalizations and stereotypes and all that. But when we are speaking amongst each other, this show, I mean, I love that there's non-Iranians listening, but the majority of the people listening around the world are of Iranian background. The show, our tagline, conversations from, to, and about the Iranian diaspora. That means we should not just be going, yay, the teenage inventor, which we're going to do today, but also talk about issues in our community that we haven't talked about, because we're just the kind of community that doesn't talk about that. And this thing with the Persians not supporting the arts, I wish it was something that we made up. I wish it was something that me and Shia have been talking. I mean, how many people have we had on this show? Great musicians or creators or writers or who've talked about not receiving the support from the community. And I can tell you, working for years in non-Iranian in Canadian radio and television, of course there's elements of that. You'll get an author going, I didn't receive the support. I wish we funded this better or whatever, this Canadian cinema. But you would never hear it on a constant basis the way you do with the Persian community, and in a really heartbreaking way. So this guy comes on and says, listen, I'm a DJ, I'm a promoter, I've been trying to keep this going for years, I can't do it anymore because I'm not getting the support. And people say, why are you shitting on the community? I don't disagree that we should not descend into generalizations. It is absolutely true that there are Iranians out there, and we speak to them, and we've had them on the show, who are not only supporting, who are going out of their way to celebrate, support, bring to light amazing Iranian art, culture, etc. But for the most part,
and we've all experienced it here in Toronto, so I don't think it's, he's not speaking out of his ass. He's speaking about his own live experiences, so you can't discount that.
It's
Right.
the truth, and if you wanna grow as a community, as a collective, you gotta face the harsh truth, and this is it.
Exactly.
I mean, but you're right. Jian is right. Like, we do have great supporters of Iranian descent, or Iranian second or first generation Iranian out in the diaspora that support the community and art. We have sponsors ourselves that sponsor our show.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone who sponsors this show, no. I mean, you're
truly,
right.
yeah.
No, I know that they're partly doing it because it's a cultural mission for them.
Yeah, they are, and a lot of times there is they want to give back, but it's not the majority,
Yeah.
and that's a fact.
And it's not and we don't have to generalize. And we'll get to the specific letters, obviously, later. And I think it was also, it was a moment where, I mean, the Aras interview was an hour long, and it was the 5 minutes where he's going, oh, that Persian community. But I mean, you know, we've had the same thing with Kambiz Hosseini or Banafsheh Akhlaqi or whoever comes on and says something critical about the community. We get a bunch of letters going, how dare this person? Why are they saying bad things about the community? So, well, is everyone just making this up?
Yeah.
You know, or are we living and breathing it? And I can tell you, and when it comes to arts and culture, you know, when I cite the example too many times, but when we have someone like Farid Zoland, you know, literally begging to be recognized for one of the greatest songwriters in the world, because there's no system of recognition for this guy, and even when he's in the West, people haven't stepped up to sort of support him. I mean, what are we supposed to say to that? That's a myth. We're just engaging in negative criticism, right?
In fact, the acknowledgement of it is the least you can do. It's a step towards becoming better, but acknowledging the issue, and then maybe taking a step towards a solution.
Yeah, we're seeing it on our show, Unmarried Persian Girls, all these issues that we're bringing to light that literally have not been spoken about. You know, we're getting all these letters saying, oh, like, you know, why aren't you talking about the positive aspects of the culture, this and that? Like, yes, we can talk about the positive aspects for sure, but there is
Why
a lot
aren't you
of
saying nice things about men? It's like, well, this show's called Unmarried Persian Girls. We're talking about your issues.
And these are our experiences.
And there's some of them are totally fair. I mean, listen, any feedback I think is if the people that you take the time, you guys, to write a paragraph on, you know, one of our platforms and want to say something, I love it. I really appreciate it, and keep doing it. And some people were just saying, let's not generalize, and I think that's fair. You know, we don't. But I just had to. Maybe it triggered me. I was like, "Come on, really? we can't do a show where we're critical without people going, why are you always critical of, you know?" And so we'll get to those letters. Reza, how was your weekend?
It was pretty great, actually. I had a great weekend. Spent it with the family.
Oh, really? Which family is that? Let me tell you about Reza. Let me tell you about Reza.
He has two families.
No, let me tell you
Secret
something.
life.
First of all, Reza used to complain and sort of poo-poo these Persian parties. You know, the Persian parties where you dress up and it has the loud music and the lights and the, you know, and everybody.
Yes,
That's right. And then like 20 people have to take a photo at once together, and they're all like, you know, and then there's 100 photos of those same thing on the Instagram, and it's great. I support, you know, people have fun, right? But you know, Reza used to make fun of this.
Right.
Then I sensed Reza was starting to go to these things, right? But you wouldn't see him in the pictures. And he'd be like, no, I wasn't there. And he'd be like, oh, that's interesting. Now, I mean, I can barely look at Instagram if I don't see Reza posting. You're posing in some.
I'm not posting. You're not
posting. You are posing. You are posing.
I'm posing.
And I can even see some of them. He's a bit sheepish, like everyone's doing the pose in their, you know, expensive dresses, and Reza's kind of like, I'm in the photo.
One of those,
But I swear, for the longest time, it's like, I don't go to those things. And you know,
are these like Javad parties?
I know. Well, no, actually, it's the kind of parties you used to go to.
I was just gonna say, I guess
you guys have traded places.
I've had stages in my life where I crave, you know, the Persian parties and music and stuff. I've had stages, and then I get sick of it. I'm like, these people, and then I miss it again, and I go back.
Oh, they're gonna be great. It's a great, but maybe not every weekend, twice a
No,
weekend.
no.
I can't see a photo without Reza in it now. You know?
See a photo without Reza in it.
If there's a
No.
party somewhere, Reza's, you know.
Yeah. And you have to dance at these parties. So I can
You
just
do. It's
imagine.
problematic because I don't know. I don't like to dance. I'm not a good dancer, and they force you. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes you're tired. It's the end of the night. You just want to
رضا
go home.
باید برقصه.
آقا چرا نشستی؟
Reza باید برقصه.
بیا.
Oh boy.
Enough of that.
We are coming to you on rookmedia.com. It is that you can link to all of our platforms and all of our programs. We're on an ongoing mission to build a new audiovisual encyclopedia of Iranian diaspora identity. Our programs are on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, CastBox. If you'd like to see some visuals on Rook Media, switch over to YouTube right now. And if you like your Rook descriptions and bulletins in English and Persian, check us out on Telegram. You can sponsor our show by getting in touch with us, and you can become a patron of our program and just help us out that way by going to the Support Us button on our main website. Again, it's rookmedia.com, where you can find everything you're looking for, past episodes, guests, video, etc. rookmedia.com.
That's right. And how was your weekend, Jian?
I read an entire book this weekend.
Over the weekend?
Yeah, I got it on Friday and devoured it.
You're a fast reader.
I'm
in
a fast
general.
reader,
Yeah.
but also if I'm into it, it's even more fun. And it's a book about Reza Shah.
Wow.
Which one?
Yeah. It's a new book by Professor Shaul Bakhash.
Bakhosh.
It's
Sounds about right.
not a common name.
It's
I don't
funny
know.
because I left him a voice message, and on his voice message he says Bakhash, but I don't know if he's saying that for the Western people. But it's
yes, that's what
he
he's saying
probably
that for.
is. Yeah, Bakhash.
And I'm assuming it was a good book since you devoured it.
Yeah, I thought, first of all, I think he's a great historian. I remember when I was doing back in the day, and I did my thesis, an independent thesis in political science on the revolution in Iran. He had written a book called The Reign of the Ayatollahs that came out in the early 1990s that I devoured back then. So here, I'm looking forward to actually getting to talk to him. I've never spoken to him. But his book is called The Fall of Reza Shah. But I suspect we'll do a two-parter with him on the rise and then the fall of Reza Shah. But we'll get into all the details. This is for the Contemporary History of Iran, our series that we post on Thursdays. But what I wanted to say about Reza Shah, I mean, I have so much to say now. I'm overflowing with things to say about Reza Shah. I knew Reza Shah from things you hear in your family and the culture, things we've said on this show. I mean, what I studied of Iran was always post-1950. But what I think is so fascinating when you're reading about historical characters in Iran, and our series, The Contemporary History of Iran, focuses mostly on the 20th century. We're dating the contemporary history basically from the end of the Qajar era, so the end of the 19th century to present day. So it's really the last 150 years. It's so different from experiencing Western history, reading about, I mean, when I did my degree I did political science and history, and political science, I was doing contemporary Middle Eastern politics and stuff. So that's why I studied Iran. But my history degree was Canadian and American history. And when you're studying presidents or prime ministers, it's a continuum of growth and modernization. So of course there are presidents in American history that stand out, but there's no president or one leader that is responsible for revolutionary change within a decade or two. And because Iran was a developing country, some would argue still is, a developing country, and trying to catch up. By the 20th century, it was like the United States existed, Russia existed, all these places, and Iran's in catch-up mode and there's oil revenue, there's deals being made with the British. What Reza Shah does from 1925, I mean, the Qajar is a bit of a mess, So from 1925 to 1941, I mean, it's you can't believe the amount of, I mean, there's the National Railroad, and then there's roadways and infrastructure and a banking and tax system and a military and the end of tribalism and women's emancipation and education and the judiciary and Western dress codes, that people have to wear the fedora and the Persianization of language. All of this happens in a decade and a half. I mean, it's just remarkable, right? You go, wow, this guy's presiding over all. Now, depending on who you are and depending on what your reading of history is, he's either this incredible, modernizer of Iran or an autocrat and a dictator. I mean, no one suggests that Reza Shah was an easy dude to, get along with. I mean, he's all of his ministers are either fired or jailed or whatever, in the first few years. And in the end, he's, at least in this book, the case is made that he's really not even that popular amongst the Iranian people, which is one of the reasons why the British kind of nix him, because they don't want to, by association, they don't want to be associated with Reza Shah. And the country is actually pro-German at that point in World War II. But just the idea that this person was at the forefront of that much change. There's nothing in Canadian history, for example, that compares to that. And Canada is a relatively new country, but it's just the amount of change in that country from 1925 to 1941.
Just think where we would have been now if he stayed in power.
Who knows?
Well, yeah.
Things were on the up from my perspective, but I know.
Well, he didn't. I mean, the Pahlavis stayed in power, right?
What do you mean?
Well,
his dynasty.
His dynasty stays. In 1941, it gets passed to his son, Mohammad Reza Shah, right? But he, in particular, they're like, you got to, I mean, I don't want to get into all the spoiler alert, I don't want to tell the story until we do the episode. But so, I mean, the Pahlavis are still in power until 1979. With the notable exception of that 1953, but yeah, no, I mean he's obviously a very strong personality and leader that his son was not, at least in the beginning, and so what would have happened if he stayed? It's tough to say, but what he accomplishes in those 15 years is amazing. He drags the country from,
because great leaders like throughout history are known usually for a few things, like one or two things: emancipation of people, liberty, bringing freedom and stuff like that. But he's
and by the way, he was a great military leader.
Yes.
He comes to power by being the guy who fights, he's leading armies, right?
He banned the hijab, is that right? That was one of the more
that's part of the problem is his
too much change too fast.
And his method was iron will. You do what I say, I mean, you wear the fedora, you wear a hat.
I love that, by the way. I love that.
Really?
She still wears it.
Mandatory dress codes?
I really wish men still wore hats today. I wish they dressed like how they did in the 50s.
But a mandatory hat? Like you have to wear
Why
that?
Not? Everybody will look great.
Well, you can't tell if the guy is bald or not. You're going to go on a date.
Exactly. Doesn't that fix everything?
Anyway, we'll get to that in the coming, I guess, weeks on the contemporary history of Iran. I so look forward to speaking to Professor Akash. Sorry, that's a total sideline, but you asked me what I did this weekend, and that book was so engrossing. Hey, a big shout out to myterms.ca. myterms.ca. You want a leader like Reza Shah? Arash Fazlipur. I have no idea if he's a fan or not.
You're going to get an angry call if he's not.
Right,
how dare you compare me to him?
Arash and Anita Fazlipur. They are life partners and business partners. They're the founders of myterms.ca. This is a mortgage company in Ontario, Canada. They have an amazing record with myterms.ca, focusing on the service aspect of the mortgage business. Very well reviewed online. They specialize in multi-million-dollar transactions through institutional and private sources and represent a handful of wealthy private investors who focus on $1 to $10 million first or second mortgages. If you are a builder, developer, or a mortgage broker looking to team up with a great source, this company is what you need. Check them out online, myterms.ca, or you can give them a call, 416-MY-TERMS, if you're in North America. Again, they make it a big priority to give back to the Persian community as well. These are folks who do support culture and the arts in a big way. Arash and Anita Fazlipur, myterms.ca. All right, Kian, so you've selected some of the
paragraphs.
Some of the paragraphs,
yes,
some of the letters, the comments that we're going to talk about and dissect and discuss with the letters of the week coming up. Captain Reza, Groovy Shaya, the fabulous Kian. See you guys in just a little bit. Let's get to our feature guest. When you do a twice weekly program that's at least partly based on celebrating people in our Iranian diaspora. You tend to wonder if you're being too promotional or amping up some of the accomplishments of some successful folks, because they are Iranian. But there really is no way to overstate the impressive feats of my featured guest today. After all, some of us were good at language when we were in our teens, or football, or strumming a guitar, or doing well in math. But how about being a world-class quantum physics inventor? That's right. Our featured guest today is an accomplished Iranian-Canadian inventor who is still in his teens. Erfan Nouraee is a 19-year-old genius who's best known for his inventions of the photoelectron particle detector and photon analyzer system for the analysis and noise reduction of optical signals carrying digital information. That's right. Not only did you guys out there not invent those things, you don't even know what those words mean, nor do I. So Erfan was born and raised in Iran. He won the Khwarazmi Youth Award, both at provincial and national levels, for his inventions in Iran at the age of 16 in 2017. He immigrated to Canada about 3 years ago and represented Canada last month among the top 1,000 inventors from 35 countries at the International Federation of Inventors Association Awards, where he took home the bronze medal in the United Nations World Best Inventor and Innovator category. He's now a Toronto City Youth Councillor, a mental health advocate, a quantum physics inventor, and a student at York University. And right now, Erfan Nouraee joins me in the Rook Studio today. Hello, sir.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today, and it is so much honor to be here with you, Jian. Thank you.
The honor is mine. It's very nice to have you here. Thank you for doing this, and it's quite a list of accomplishments already for a 19-year-old. What was it like to win a United Nations bronze medal last month?
Yeah, it was quite life-changing experience, and I dreamed to get that award, and that came true.
How was it life-changing? You say it's life-changing.
Yeah, life-changing in the meaning of finding a way to represent my what I love or what I'm passionate about. So that was what I always dreamed, but I couldn't reach that in when I was in Iran. So because of sanctions or any of those situations. So
we'll get into some of that. But now that you've reached your dream, you can stop, right? There's nothing left to do anymore.
Exactly. And thank you for your support and Roqe Media and your colleagues at Roqe Media.
Right, that's very kind. Thank you. I mean, when you won that bronze medal, I mean, one of the ways it would be life-changing is there are people who are surely aware of you, both in Iran and in Canada, maybe around the world, and especially in the community of, say, inventors or physicists or et cetera. But this event really carried your name and your story in a much bigger way. I saw Premier Doug Ford tweeting about you, his respect. There were a lot of stories about you. Are you surprised just how much you've been embraced in Canada, given that you only moved here 2 or 3 years ago?
It was super surprising for me. I knew that there is a support in in developed countries like Canada or United States, but the support I saw here was much fabulous than what I expected before. And government of Canada, even in the national or even provincial levels, they supported. And I would like to thank them for this systematic support for innovators, for inventors, for every community. And that's that I want to appreciate.
I have to say, Erfan, we talk actually a fair bit on this show because we're talking about Iranians and Iranian issues, and sometimes they can be difficult. And we talk about the difficulty of immigration, challenges people have when they immigrate. But in this case, I really do have to share some pride in Canada and Canadians for really considering you. I mean, if you read the stories about you, they don't say some immigrant who came 2 years ago. I mean, they really embrace you as a Canadian. I mean, Canadians are proud of you as well as the Iranian community. And for someone who's just gotten here 2 or 3 years ago, I think that's quite beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't expect when I won the award. So immediately after that, I saw government of Canada in United Nations, ambassador, the representative of the government of Canada to the United Nations. They immediately tweeted about it, and I was shocked, and I told my mother, wow, I compared that when I was in Iran. So I didn't see that much support from government of Iran. I'm not really a political person
I
in that.
understand. You don't.
But
Yes.
I'm just meaning the implementation of the educational system in our country. But and just in comparison with two countries, two nations, so I saw that like this support is hugely appreciated.
What does your
Innovator.
mom say in a situation where her teenager wins a bronze medal from the United Nations in innovation? Do you get extra qeimeh, or do you, how do you celebrate?
Yeah, she was shocked. Like every tweet or media or I took screenshots or sent them for her, and she was like super excited. Like that was the focal point, and she was excited about how innovators like young people are supported, and not just in innovation field, like even in politics, even in sports. So they are all supported in.
Well, they
in a
may be
manner.
supported, but they're not all winning awards. I mean, you're clearly one of the world's best, and you're doing this at a very young age. I actually want to get into your inventions and have you try and explain them to us. But while we're talking about you being celebrated and the interesting journey that it's been for you already, I understand last year you met President Obama, or former President Obama as well.
Yeah, that was the story of meeting President Obama, and so like after like York University and many government of Canada published a statement about the President Obama that he was coming to Canada, and then they
This
called.
is last year.
Yeah, last year, like about 2020.
Okay.
And they called on youth, like young people, like to apply for sending their activities or what they did in community to make change, to make a difference in community. So, and I just submitted my like what I did, and then after 2 weeks, like after 1 week or one and a half week, they announced the results, and I was shocked. Like it was really, I didn't expect, like when I like saw their email, like and I was invited to meet and talk with President Obama. That was really interesting as a young.
What did you talk to him about?
Yeah, like they could ask questions as like some kind of volunteers. So it's a group of young people, like they call it Young Leaders Delegate.
Yes.
Who are some kind of delegation thing,
Yes.
and you can somehow like representing other young people or something like that, and then yeah.
By the way, be careful of your hand. You keep hitting the microphone, and it makes a noise. You see this?
Oh, okay.
So imagine it's a photo electron.
Exactly.
Clearly, you're good with you're careful with your hands. Stop hitting the microphone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, every noise like reminds me of that invention.
Well, I know, because it's partly about noise. So I'm like, I was thinking, this guy's invented we could use your invention here, and you're hitting the microphone. Part of your story and part of what I love, honestly, about, I mean, your accomplishments are fabulous, and we can be proud of that. But it's the passion that you exhibit. Like, you're really into this, it's like a kid who's into their favorite rock band or really into dancing, and you're really into this. And tell me why are you so passionate about innovation?
Is that okay, like if I talk about my childhood?
Of course.
Yeah. So actually I had I really had a bizarre childhood. So I take garbages or random household items around me, and then my hot glue and some pieces of paper, and then create inventions.
This is in Tehran.
Yeah, this is in Tehran.
So you're a little kid, and you're finding garbage and making inventions out of it.
Exactly.
What's the youngest you can remember doing that?
So it was like starting when I was 8 years old or 7 years old.
Okay.
So when we talk with family, when we talk with parents, and of course they never worked, but the idea.
What were you inventing when you were 7? What did you try to invent?
building buildings or shuttles, like whatever I had, like I imagined. So I tried to make it real, or I really loved making things. So and crafting them and make that like exactly like what I saw on a picture. And the idea of taking the resources around me and piecing them together to create inventions, like came very naturally. And that was a turning point. And after that, like when I was just 16, I had a book like called How Things Work. And I loved this, even like natural things like physics or these books. I loved that. And my first toy was an electronic module. And my father bought me these modules and like gave me as gift.
Now your father's not an inventor, right?
No,
and nor is your mom.
Neither.
This is just it happened that you happen to be really fascinated with this stuff.
Yeah. I like making things like from that age and like very young age, but neither of them like worked in these kind of fields. And that was like reading books and watching, learning. And
would you have a lot of friends, or did you spend a lot of time alone? I mean, it occurs to me that inventing things isn't something you usually do in a group. So you had to be comfortable being alone.
Exactly.
And
yeah, exactly. I was, teamwork is important, but teamwork is great for making robots, for example. We did that like for in 2018, and we
did
went
that
to
as
Thailand.
well. You invented some robots. Okay.
Yeah, some robots. But it's great to have a team, like to be in a team.
Yeah, but when you're 8, and surely there's some other boys that you go to school with, or who are out playing football or something. Do you say, no, I want to go up to my room and work on inventing things? Is that?
Yeah, exactly. So like this happened. This usually happened for me. Like they asked me like, yeah, we can go out and play, and I usually wasn't really it was a little bit of bizarre childhood. So I was really curious about it and curious about how world works. Everyone tells that even, but anyway, I really was curious about physics.
Well, actually, no, everyone doesn't. First of all, most people who are 8 years old aren't necessarily curious about how the world works in the kind of way that they're going to take action and want to deploy those big questions and use their hands. But it sounds like you also had supportive or understanding parents who not only were not saying, stop playing with stop making things, go finish your homework and become an engineer. But it sounds like, wasn't there a story about how they sent your little inventions to NASA or something when you were a little kid? And
when I made things and, like shuttles, spacecraft. So my mother and my father, like, they took pictures and sent them through Facebook for NASA or like ESA or some of these organizations, and even they send us a letter and suggestion to getting admission for school in United States. But it was and after chatting with them like for 1 month or even like 3 weeks, we lost our a connection, and through Facebook it was like we were not sure.
You were blocked.
Yeah,
because of NASA.
Yeah, because
communicating with NASA.
Yeah,
wow.
Communicating with NASA, and this is like referencing to what we usually talk about, like the story that we had during that time, and it was really strict, like chatting like with the United States government's organization.
Did NASA offer you schooling
some kind of,
or something?
Yeah, some kind of elementary school in United States, and they really liked those shuttles and origami things. And
so are you saying shuttles, like space shuttle?
Space
you
shuttles.
You were making space shuttles?
Yeah, space shuttles. Everything that I like found like during when I was like starting 8 years old.
So you would find garbage,
yeah,
and then you would make a space shuttle out of it.
Yeah, like garbages, or
It was just a model, though, not a space shuttle that can fly anywhere.
yeah, exactly. It was a model, or many, or even the household items. Any random household items. I found them, and then piecing them together. And my idea was
Like
to make,
what? Sorry, it's too interesting to me. What household items?
for example,
Give me an
I had
example. Yeah.
for example, I saw my mother chopping onions, and this was for my third class science fair project, and then she was chopping onions, so I thought she had some kind of she was crying.
She was crying because of the
bothered,
onions. Yes,
because of onions, and I immediately had two electronic armatures, and then I connect them to with each
Wait, you
other.
had two what? Electronic armchairs?
Yeah, electronic.
What does that mean?
It's electronic fan.
Okay.
Yeah, and I connect them to, and I connect them to a glass, goggles, and to prevent that, just to prevent that.
To cover the eyes?
Yeah,
Well,
to cover the eyes, but it has a fan, two fans, and it has a battery, some kind of. Yeah, it was a little.
Did it work?
Yeah,
Did
actually.
the fan goggles, did your mom use them next time with the PRs? Or?
Yeah, and even she laughed, and when I presented that, and she laughed. That's really.
So wait a second. Hang on. First of all, how old are you with the goggle invention? How old were you?
Yeah, I third class science,
What
grade
is that?
science.
Third grade
project.
is like you're 8, 9.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was
So
during
you
that
see your mom cutting onions, and
yeah.
do you tell her I'm going to invent something, or you just run off and find things?
Yeah, finding things, and it
This
was
is unbelievable.
Yeah,
I'd be terrified to have you in the house. This is like a mad scientist.
and
What's he going to come up with next?
and my mother called my family even. Yeah, my son made this, and it was really fun, really, for me, and I was super excited to continue that when I saw my parents like it, and they even suggested me to continue to innovate more things. And
You were going to normal school in Tehran at the time as well, right? Or no?
Yeah, for just for elementary, yes, but and after that, I did an entrance exam, and for high school, I changed my school to a more professional high school in Tehran.
So did you? I'm guessing you probably went to high school earlier than most people. Did you go younger than most people?
No.
No. Oh, okay. All right. Thank God you're a bit normal. So when NASA says, "Oh, we have some school we could, in the United States," how come at that point was it an option to say, "Okay, let's go and send Airfon to the U.S. for NASA" when you're a little boy?
Yeah, exactly. We actually didn't have that option, and situation was different, and we couldn't get to do some visa work or embassy work. So we didn't actually go forward to apply for United States or or immigrate to another country for more opportunities. But actually, later, we came up with this idea that we need to have an option, and because we didn't see any support, the system was not supporting as supportive as it should be. So we've decided to continue to study in Iran, and until when I was 16 years old, I came up with my first invention. And I present that to Khwarizmi award.
Was that the photoelectron particle detector?
Exactly.
Okay.
It was like a photoelectron spectroscopy system that it could give it can give some features of a photoelectron particle in photoelectric.
Okay, hang on a second. Stop.
Yeah.
But no one knows what you're talking about except for some scientists out there, maybe Shaya because he's weird. Let me. I want to ask you to treat me like I'm a little child and explain what that is. But first, we were talking about you started talking about your childhood because I asked you about you're passionate about innovation, and you seem to be saying two things. One, that you've always loved making things, and that boyhood passion remains in you today. Like the little guy who would make the goggles for the mom after, is still you today. I'm imagining you see things around the house, you see things happening, and you want to make something. But there's a second part to it too, which is you said something like you wanted to know why the world is the way it is. And so there, it feels like in the things that you invent, I mean, maybe this is true for inventions in general, but it seems like the impetus, what's driving you, is to want to make the world a better place somehow. Is that true?
Exactly. And I had multiple questions. I was wondering about how things work. So I realized that science can answer those questions that I wondered about. So it could answer it. So I followed that way. I followed to read more about physics, to find out how world works. Like what are some theories that causes the nature has some patterns. Like some disciplined patterns. That's really a turning point again for me to connect myself with my environment and to make world a more sustainable place for its citizens.
Does it come from a place of, are you worried about the world?
I'm really worried about the situation right now and even before. So
in terms of what? Climate?
Yeah, exactly. Climate change, and and we have to take action for that, and it was crystal clear even before. And the only,
what one way to deal with climate change? Goggles with fans on them.
Yeah.
They cool the head.
Yeah, that's an example. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, exactly. So that time, I just, like, science could answer those questions. So I read books. I continued to learn about it. And
did you have a particular role model? Stephen Hawking? Is there somebody that you think of and go, I want to be that guy?
Yeah, Thomas Edison.
Edison.
Yeah, Thomas Edison. He is every single one of my friends, knows that. Like,
when did you know about Thomas Edison? You're a kid growing up in Iran. He's a famous American inventor from 300 years ago. When did you first know about Thomas Edison?
I take him as my leader. So he is really inspiring in shining the world. And I have a lot of respect for all of his inventions, and he had about 1,400 patents in United States Patent and Trademark Office. And
but so curious that it's not somebody,
inspiring.
it's not Elon Musk or somebody new. It's you're going way back for Thomas Edison.
Yeah, he, because of that origination, it has roots in inventing, in like Elon Musk. I also have, he is a really great entrepreneur, but in entrepreneurial world, but in inventing world and innovation world, Thomas Edison even invented motion pictures.
Yes.
Like today's video, or even lamp or light bulb.
Yeah.
Studio.
Pretty big deal.
Pretty big deal. So I took him as my leader, and I followed what he did, and even how he found problems and find like interest problems, and to find some unique solutions that are creatively try to.
Do you follow the lives of these people, like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, and do you read about them? Do you look?
Yeah.
Do you care about their sort of journey and think about how they did what they did?
Yeah, exactly. Like Steve Jobs, or I read books about him, like their biographies. Elon Musk, he's also one of my role models. I really.
He's done okay.
Yeah. He worked a lot during
his youth.
Yeah, he has some great work ethic, and I appreciate that. I take that as
with a guy like Elon Musk, it's so easy at this point to think that he just flies from party to party and tweets something or whatever. But I guess he has put in his time at some point.
Yeah, he's more doing entrepreneurial things, or making companies, or just working on economy things. But inventions are really unique. It should be just from an inventor like Thomas Edison or Nikola Tesla. I also have to mention Nikola Tesla.
Okay,
Yeah, he has done very great job in shining the world that we have today.
So when you're 16, you invent this award-winning photoelectron particle detector. Now, you started to explain this to us. I actually have read up on it, so I have a sort of an idea of what it is. But why don't you explain for folks out there who may not be scientists or inventors exactly what it does, what you invented?
Yeah, actually, it is an accelerator that can accelerate particles like from a metal. Like suppose we have a metal, so if we radiate that metal with a high frequency light, it releases a particle called photoelectron. So that particle can be accelerated and can have some radiations. So this system can measure that radiation and give that some critical features of the particle like speed, frequency, energy to the monitor, and you can like read that from monitor and use it for scientific purposes, and it was efficient. Like for Khwarizmi Award, it was like about 8,000 inventors all around Iran, and scientists in Iran like that. Like even I went to Tehran University, Sharif University, they liked it, and the surprise about this idea that I just pick on that particle, just that one particle. It was really surprising for the faculty members or any of the university's alumni. So
when did you first have the idea for that?
Yeah, I read a lot. So how I inspired to work on this kind of idea was from reading a lot of books. So I found the photoelectric effect. Okay, so what if we measure this radiation that is happening from the particles acceleration in the system? So how we should do that? So we have to have some kind of a device.
Are you consulting with anyone when you're doing this, or are you just doing it all by yourself?
Because of in invention field, it shouldn't be obvious to so you have to file your idea, and then you can consult.
Sorry, what does that mean? You don't want anybody to steal the idea. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. First, we have to file it in the patent organization.
Okay.
And then
you want to make sure you secure the patent.
Yeah.
Before you invent it?
No, after.
After you invent
so
it.
After you have the idea, and then you have to file it. So before you're going to consult with investors, with scientists, and then you can
Yeah. But I don't even mean investors. I just mean in terms of developing it. Are you doing it by, like, in terms of actually inventing it? Do you do that work by yourself?
Yeah, exactly. Because I read a lot of books. I digged into it, and I analyzed the problems. I loved physics, and I was mad about it. So the patterns of nature. So that was the thing that I always interested in, like day in and day out. Like even in school, at Arabic class, I read physics. Like my
But you didn't pay attention to the Arabic?
No. But I have a lot of respect for Arabic language. It's so beautiful. But that wasn't my interest. I have much respect for that. But that wasn't my interest there.
Right. That's very diplomatic. Good.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, so it's not long after you win those awards in Iran and you've made that invention that you end up coming to Canada. And you've intimated a couple of times that you didn't have the support in Iran. And I want to ask you about that. I know you don't mean to get into politics and stuff, and we don't have to at all. But I find it really interesting, since we talk so much about arts, for example, or creative people or culture not getting support in Iran. So if you're a musician, for example, you have to leave Iran to find that kind of support. It's curious to me that in the science realm, being an inventor, that I would think that that's the kind of thing that you would get support for in Iran, since it's so valued in our society, in our culture. But that wasn't true for you. You were not getting that kind of support.
No, so Exactly. So first, I made my first invention, and then after that, immediately we went to a national competition for robotic association competition in Emory Cabri University, and we did that. We got the first place, and we went just a little brief about how we did, how we worked in Iran, and then we went to international award on behalf of Iran, and on behalf of Iran, we went to Taiwan, Taichung University, and we won the third place in a team for Iran's robotic team, national robotic team. And then when we came back to Iran, even it wasn't surprising that we couldn't see any politicians to say even a simple congratulations.
There was no big celebration.
No,
there was
not a celebration even to support or even in investment things. So and from then we decided to find an option, or to find more support, and we saw that it was crystal clear that like countries like Canada, United States, they support their inventors, they support their in every field, not like invention, but as you said, it's valued.
Why
exactly.
do you think that support wasn't there in Iran?
I think there is an educational problem in its origination. So there is some kind of a problem in education system of Iran. So young people in Iran have to pass an exam called concours. And that's really disgraceful. That's really disgraceful for
because it stratifies everybody into just one, being
exactly,
judged on one.
Just to normalize people, like young people's abilities to some kind of standardized criteria.
Yes.
So like some of my friends had different interests. Like some of them liked programming, some of them like art, some of them. So that the implementation of educational policies was wrong, and I want that. I even
how did you do in the concours?
I even advocate that.
How did you do in the concours?
I didn't do that.
You didn't even do it?
Yeah, I didn't do that. So,
but are you saying that there's some kid out there in Shiraz or in Mashhad who has the potential to be an amazing inventor and will never be discovered because they don't do well enough on the concours, for example?
Exactly. There are many talented young people in Iran. And family is very important. Parents are very important. They have to push their young they have to allow their young people to continue to innovate, to advocate for what they love, to what they are interested about, to what they're interested in. So they shouldn't block them just to go do concours. That's wrong. That's wrong for our communities. So you can see here, those young people who are interested in inventing, they can do inventing. Those interested in arts, they can do art. So
but I still don't understand, Erfan. I still don't understand you're this 16-year-old, 17-year-old. You win. You go to the international competition in Taiwan. You come home with a bronze medal with your team in robotics. What does the concours have to do with? I mean, why wouldn't? If I were the regime in Iran, I would want to embrace you and tout you as the look at what's coming out of the country that we're the government in. I mean, why wouldn't they do that?
Yeah, actually, so that was the support that wasn't there for research. So it's all about funds. The funds,
funding isn't there.
Yeah,
right.
It's all about the funds and even the funding from how these exams are supported for government. So government knew that there should be some kind of exam for young people, like to continue to go in this one-dimensional way, and not to continue for what they believe. So here in Canada, we don't have any standard exam. we
No,
really don't
no.
have it. So like in University of
And
Toronto,
as you say, I mean, there's debates in Canada about whether why it isn't greater the fund for, but there is money put aside for research and development, and as there is in the States, and there is a premium placed on that, and so so you're the beneficiary, hopefully, of that kind of support. When you and your family, I guess you come with your mom to Canada, how difficult was the adjustment for you? I mean, your English is excellent. You seem extremely well adjusted. You've been here for a couple of years. You're already a youth counselor. You're in the media here and everything. Was it as seamless as it appears to be, or was it difficult at first coming here?
yeah, that was difficult decision to immigrate to Canada. It wasn't exactly as you said. It wasn't easy to take this decision to come to leave my country. I love my country. I love Iran. So like living beyond my family there, and my my father and just me and my mother, we came here to Canada. It wasn't really easy thing to do, and that was the point that I realized that I have to work here. I have to serve people here, and that was my idea. Like, if I couldn't do that,
Why do you have to serve people here? I mean, it's beautiful that you do, but you're a 19-year-old even right now. I mean, why don't you just go to Toronto Raptors games and hang out, listen to music, you do well in school, whatever? I mean, why do you feel the responsibility of having to serve people?
Yeah, because I believe that we have to make world a better place. That was just the reason. And service is one of those factors that could allow me to start. For example, that was one of the factors that allowed me to work on mental health. The first I tried to join youth councils, Minister of International Trade's youth council, and to advocate for youth mental health. So I tried to serve young people, and by raising awareness for their mental, I saw that in Iran. I was disappointed that young people weren't aware of how mental health is important, and they didn't take care of it. Here I realized that this is a matter, like physical, like our physical health, mental health matters, and we have to work on it. There should be some community.
And when did it really hit you that that's something you want to work on? Mental health. I'm glad you would start talking about that, because I think it's an important part of what your message is these days. When did mental health become something you wanted to speak out about?
Yeah, maybe because of the long side effects of conquer in Iran, like on young, like my friends' behaviors, or some young people behaviors. So like suicide was really a disappointing factor in Iran.
Yes.
So you can see like that young girl killed herself because she couldn't get gold medal in Olympiad for math.
Right.
And because like the family is zooming, the family is checking the
parental pressure.
Yeah, exerting that pressure
Yes.
on their daughter. So that's that's disappointing.
And have you felt that kind of pressure? Did you feel that kind of?
No, I always that there was actually pressure because of the educational system, but I always told my my mother or my father, my parents, that I want to do what I want. I want to do what I'm interested in, and I did it. And inventing for me is fun, and it's.
But there's a piece written. I think it's written by you. That's online from a couple of years ago. talking about how you struggled with anxiety and stress and maybe depression. I want to quote from it. He feared from investors and was scared that if he couldn't handle their money, which had been given to him to work on the invention, and the worst case, what he should do in the case the project was rejected and giving back, all these thoughts were adding to his anxiety and stress. So this is something that's personal for you as well. How bad did your anxiety get?
So actually, it was a little bit of a stress, not like a huge stress for me. But even I can't say that. Like, stress was interesting for me. Like, even, stress, we have a stress. We have to claim it. It's real. And like our physical health, we have to highlight it. But it can happen. Like even Elon Musk in that high entrepreneurial levels, he has it. Like with investors, like me, even I was since like during I found some investors to show my invention. It wasn't easy for a young at that young age. So it actually happens. That's undeniable. But the point is controlling and taking care of it.
Offering. So what have you learned about managing your own ambitions?
Exactly. So I found some ways, like talking with my parents, talking about my problems about them, like just talking with your social network. Find them, your friends, your family members, maybe your close friends. Talk with them. And even find those young people who need your support. Even give your support and support them. They really are in a bad situation. You have to find them and support them. And there are some platforms, I have to mention, it's like jack.org or Kids Help Phone.
Kids Help Phone.
They can find it and they can connect with these platforms. They are fabulous. And it's so helpful. So,
do you feel pressure to perform? I mean, do you feel how hard do you take it? Be honest. The name of the show is Rook. But how hard do you take it if you don't deliver on something? If something you are creating fails, or if you don't meet the standard that you expect of yourself?
So I have to say like a quote from Elon Musk. So if you don't fail, you're not innovating enough. So you have to fail to innovate.
So are you okay with failing?
Yeah, because I knew that was part of it. That was part of a game. So if you don't fail in that game, you're not innovating enough.
But when you do fail, I mean, in the moment, are you okay with that? Can you go, oh, you know what? This is part of the...
Yeah, exactly.
Really? You don't throw something at the wall or get angry or punch a pillow or something, or...
No, because I knew that was the part of, that was part of innovation. So if we don't fail, we can't innovate enough. So, that was the part that I realized, that if I don't, remove that mistake, remove that barrier in my work, so I'm not innovating enough.
So I don't understand how you do all the things you do without becoming a stress basket. Because assuming you're still inventing, following your passion, you're a York University student, a mental health advocate. We'll get into the city councillor thing. I don't know what you're doing. So what is your schedule? I mean, do you have a window of each day where you go, this is my time for inventing, or how do you balance all of this?
Yeah, exactly. I just set a rule for that. Like every 3 months we have a small invention, and like even we have it on, or either we have to file it or make it or prototype.
Who's
it.
we? We have to
myself,
yourself,
but
okay.
I have a little bit of shy to myself, but we or maybe like attorneys, because I have some attorneys to help me. Attorneys, they help me to to file the patents, to file the inventions, and I do have a schedule. So it's part of it for community work, part of it is for government and politics work. I had an internship at Liberal Party. I even couldn't get that around my mind, like how I even connected to a political party in
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Because I love their notions, I love their ideas in Canada.
Are you hyper organized? Do you follow a schedule to a T?
I try to be.
Uh-huh.
I try to be.
What time do you get up in the morning?
About 6
6.
to 7. Yeah.
And what do you do when you?
I'm an early bird, so
Yeah, that-
kind
yeah.
of, kind of.
Okay, you get up at 6, and what do you do? What's the when do you first get to work?
Yeah, first I will, I will get a coffee, and then, because it gives me a lot of energy
Yes,
to
yes.
continue the work, and then first of all I will, read Invention news, like what is invented in the day, and then I will work on, depending on that day, like if it's community work, I will do my community works, like
And right away
service.
at 6 o'clock. You get up and brush your
No,
teeth. and then-
after
okay.
it's like in its due time, I will
Okay,
work on it,
alright.
and then I do have some break and balance for family and for joining my family. So I do I do have
Hoshbaholishin. You allow them some time. You give them a couple of hours a week.
exactly, because of my mental health, it matters.
Yes, of course it matters. But do you do you go to a movie? Would you watch a hockey game? Would you? No.
It's a busy time. No, I really can't. My mother tells me you have to, but I can't, because I'm really busy. Like one day I'm working on my company, so, and one day I'm in university, and it's really hectic. And
But don't you think you should be scheduling some social time? Wouldn't that be part of the balance?
exactly, absolutely, we have to do that. And as you
Of course,
said,
in your case, you probably schedule it to the minute, and but even so, we'll take
5
it.
minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes social time. I get to call a friend. Yeah, I don't
Exactly.
want to worry about you. I want to make sure that you have that element of your life too. I mean, that's part of learning, right?
Yeah.
Is hanging out. I don't know, whatever you like to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's crucial. We shouldn't it's on the number. We have to have it. We have to set it up in our calendars. That social time is really important. But
There's a lot of Iranians listening, by the way, going, let him work. Don't tell him to go to a movie.
Don't tell.
No, I'm looking for him to have some balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some days, like I can see I have like 8 to 9 hours of work. Sometimes I'm chatting with investors, incubators, to present the invention. It's it's really you have to give time for that. And media, like for example, I saw like tweets, like Mayor of Toronto tweeted, or Premier Doctor tweeted, and I can't even it's really busy
Yeah.
to handle them, so it's not enough time for any social thing, but we have to have that social thing for our mental health. I can't deny that, but
Yeah,
as long as my
let's
time-
face it, that kind of social time is for
Yeah,
teenagers.
for-
Oh, wait, you are a teenager. So
I turned to 20.
Did you turn 20?
Yeah, I turned.
That changes everything.
Yeah, I just
you're
turned-
old now. This is now you're not delivering enough. Before you were an impressive teenager. Now you're in your 20s. Come on, let's get to work.
just a week. Yeah.
You have it was just a week ago.
Yeah, it's about.
Happy Tavallud.
Yeah, thanks.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You've mentioned a few times patents. You've mentioned investors. You've mentioned monetization. How important is making money for you?
Exactly. So, like one side of it, as I said, like innovation is one side of it is to present your innovation invention to people, getting awards for it, make credibility. But the other side is monetization. You have to have some kind of a business thing. You have to work in entrepreneurial areas to.
We don't have to. Do you have to? That's a choice too. You want to make money.
Yeah, that's actually an option. But for making that big or making more effects or impacts in community or even economy, it's better to work on it in the case of entrepreneurship. And so that's exactly what I'm trying to do these days. And
do you want to be we're rich? Do you want to be? I mean, we've had a few people on the show, Ali Parsa, Hadi Partovi. There are people in our community who are billionaires because of things that they've being entrepreneurial. Is that your goal?
Actually, I want to be I want to be that entrepreneur to have some societal impacts and have some positive impacts in world. I do appreciate them. They are making many positive impacts in Iranian community in the world. But just being rich for me means like helping people, just to serve the people. This is all I want to do. Just I would like to help this planet. I would like to save the nature. We need to do something. It's gonna be so late. Really,
That's amazing, man.
Yeah,
I better not catch you driving a fancy car.
It's okay to have that.
Oh,
but,
it's okay to have that. All right. So the fancy car is okay, but let's save the environment. No, I think I understand, and I appreciate where you're coming from on that. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Well, so what I'm mainly doing now is, be a voice. So for like 10 years, I would like to be more active in politics of Canada, to continue to see how policies in innovation policies or scientific policies are impacting the whole country. So I have a close tie to politics, and I want to be.
You enjoy that, the politics? I'm going to ask you about why the politics. I mean, if you become a famous, successful inventor, you're going to have Elon Musk is not a politician, but he has a lot of influence, right? Do you really want to spend your time being a counselor and dealing on a granular level with people like that?
Yeah. So, that just not for, making rules. I love like those parliamentary things. But beside that, my main vision for a Canada, like that has that, final scientific purpose, like going to Mars. Canada should go to Mars, really. But government is not, allocating more.
Do you really think we need to go to Mars?
Yeah, we
have to. It's
not
a waste of money to go to Mars. Don't we have things that we have to deal with, and we're going to spend money going to Mars?
Yeah, and that's the reason we have to change the government. So we have to have more innovative government.
Right.
Yeah, we have to change the government and turn it to more innovative government, and we have to allocate more investment for innovation department,
healthcare.
Yeah, but for me, like more in innovation based, or like Ministry of Innovation and Science things. That matters for me.
Yes.
And because government is powerful, government is strong, and it has a huge impact on our society, and science.
Especially if you're in the. I mean, somebody once said that you have to be at the top levels of government to really make a difference. I know that goes against the romantic notion that the local councillor can do a lot of good, but do you want to be the premier? Do you want to be the prime minister?
I actually no. Why not? But actually have more vision for like Ministry of Science and Innovation of Canada, because I have this like specific vision for this kind of ministry, because we have to work on it to turn it to what Canada deserves. And I
have to imagine you've met Dr. Reza Shah at this point.
I
you got the liberal part, and you got the scientist part, and
he's amazing.
A cabinet minister.
Yeah, he's an amazing person. He's knowledgeable. I talked with him, sometimes because of COVID, like I talked with him through Instagram. So, and he's an amazing scientist, and I just imagine how Iranian community comes so far here, and that entanglement between science and politics is beautiful for me, because if you make an impact on innovation, you're making an impact on economy, and that entanglement is what we have to follow to make an innovation, policy implication for Canada that Canada deserves, like going to Mars, allocating more, investment to Space Agency of Canada, and these are the things that I want to do in politics, and I have these visions because Canada deserves it, and we have to work on it. Like it's politics.
You've mentioned a few times. I mean, it's lovely to hear you talking about Canada. You've also mentioned a couple of times in this interview, I love my country, and you're talking about Iran.
Yeah.
Could you see yourself returning to Iran to live?
Yeah. No, I'm not sure if I came back, but I do love to come back Iran and to visit my my other family members, but I'm not really sure if I come back or not.
You see yourself living in the West, basically. Sounds like.
Somehow, but I do have.
Who knows what could happen?
Yeah. Who knows? I actually have some kind of I have some kind of vision for in politics, but
some kind of vision for
Canada's
what?
Politics.
For Canadian politics.
Yeah, for Canada's politics, and I'm trying to.
Some people would really hope that you have a vision for Iranian politics, and is that you could fix things. Maybe you could return and fix things. Maybe you're the guy everybody's waiting for.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for mentioning that. Exactly, many fellow friends, family members told me but as I said, I'm not really sure if I come back, but I do love to visit my family members, to visit my country. And I say it again, I love my country. I love Iranian from all around the world. They are fabulous people, and talented young people around the world, smart.
They're fabulous people who are no doubt very proud of you. Thank you for doing this today. It's been such a pleasure to have you here in person in the studio. Congratulations on what you've already done, and in advance, congratulations on all the things I can't wait to see you do. I can't wait to have you back and with each new invention, and it's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jian. Thank you for having me today. It was a pleasure to be on Roqe Media and talking with you and Roqe Media and your colleagues. And thank you. Thank you for supporting Iranian community members, and that's we greatly appreciate your support, and young people, especially young people.
Well, you are really impressive. Much less impressive now that I know you're 20. You were very impressive as a 19-year-old. Now that you're old, I don't know.
Yeah, just a week. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my brother. Erfan Nouraee, Iranian-Canadian city youth counselor, mental health advocate, quantum physics inventor, student at York University. Airfon is the 20-year-old bronze medalist for the United Nations World's Best Inventor and Innovation Awards 2021. Erfan Nouraee joined me in the Rook Studio today. Airfon's leaving the room there. Then Captain Reza, Groovy Shah, the fabulous Keon. The microphones are back on.
Oh, I'm just so glad there is not very many of Erfan. Otherwise,
actually, there is. Well, he's unique. In
he's
a lot
unique.
Of ways,
No, there isn't. How many geniuses are out there like him?
In the
Otherwise,
Persian community?
imagine the pressure we're under just being us, being compared to other kids. Now,
I'm not letting my mom listen to this. That's for sure.
Interesting to hear Erfan talk about having problems with the concours. Isn't that interesting?
That's crazy.
How do you say concours?
Concours,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean that's really interesting. Given that he is the genius, for him to say this
system doesn't work.
This system is broken. Yeah.
And it's so true too, because there are a lot of people with talents in other sectors and fields that don't necessarily want to study physics or math, but you gotta take them.
But he's saying there's a lot of guys like him that are incredibly talented, are incredibly smart, are incredibly creative, inventive, but may not be best on a standardized test, and they'll never get seen. They'll never get heard.
And it's not easy. It's not only about the standardized test. It's about the pressure that is on you. Like you're on a short time limit. Then you got to practice that. It's like practicing for the Olympics. Like it's how ridiculous it is. And that pressure takes a toll.
The other thing is, I mean, now that he's not here, I love that he talked about how much he loves Iran and being Iranian, but I can't help but feel what is Canada's gain is Iran's loss in this case. I mean, how if you are running a country, you don't want someone like Airfon to leave the country, to go find success elsewhere, right? It's really, I mean, we can be proud of them as Iranians, but it's sad for Iran.
Such a large talent pool that Iran lost. It is sad. It's a good point you brought up.
Yeah, and this is they lost him 3 years ago. This isn't like he left at the revolution time, like when the stories we normally talk about.
Yeah, when I was kid, I love, maybe you would laugh, but when I was kid, actually I was fascinated by shuttle space. And I also created with
little models.
Little models, but I ended up
well, you ended up in Canada too, but
not with a United Nations medal.
با زور اومدی شما آقا. There was no invitation.
No, but I would invite Shaya. How dare you knock my
only if
sweet
he would
Shaya.
drink his model rocket.
Really such a thoughtful guy too, in terms of wanting to give back to society, but incredibly ambitious. No plans for a social life.
How can he? I can't see him having a social life or even being.
Oh, he talked about it, He gets up at 6 a.m. and he's got too many things going on right now. I don't have time to watch a hockey game.
Good for him, man. Again, my mother will not be listening to this. He's going to be one of the next billionaires. Just watch out for him.
Yeah.
Well, he's definitely interested in that. I think he dropped the Elon Musk's name a few times, 4 or 5 times.
We might be working for him one day.
But one day being in about a month from now.
But I also like that his role model is like Edison and not one of the new.
I know that blew me away.
That's really cool.
Edison.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Tesla as well. Nikola Tesla, I think he said.
Usually it's one or the other.
No, it's quite fascinating, man.
Who's your role model, Kian?
You're my role model,
Thank
Jian.
you.
There you go. Is that the answer you wanted?
The bar is pretty average. No, I'm just a joke. Say hi.
I was actually curious.
Who's your role model?
Bowie.
That's a heavy question.
Bowie would be one.
Mandela.
Would you say Mandela?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
I mean, Mandela wouldn't not be, but it's just odd. My answer is Mandela, I guess. No, Bowie. I mean, growing up, I would have said Bowie. For a while, it was Chomsky. It would have been John Lennon, and then Gabriel Garcia Marquez was a role model for a while.
Is there any Persian guy among your role models?
Good question. There's not. I mean, like growing up for me, I didn't have any Persian women to look up.
My
like
dad, but not a.
Yeah.
No, there was no. I mean,
Ali Dai.
Ali Dai is the great soccer player.
Until recently, he had the highest international goals in the world.
Oh, you know what I was going to tell you? I should have done it at the beginning of the show. We can do it next week.
Okay.
Did you get your Wrapped Spotify 2021 list?
Yeah.
You got it.
Did you get that?
No, I
did
got
you
it.
guys on Spotify?
Yeah. I
Well,
did
it's
it.
very telling, right? You get your list. You on Spotify, Reza?
I'm not.
All
I
right,
am,
so
but I don't listen to
on
music.
Okay. I am, but I don't listen to it. It's like that's the
Like,
point of
got
it.
it.
Yeah, all right.
I don't listen to music.
I just watched the Spotify. So it's so at the end of the year, Spotify gives you your top what you've listened to the most. Gives you all your stats and the songs you've listened to the most, and you can't kind of cheat or lie because
Yeah, actually listen to them.
It's
so
data.
what's weird for me is I had this I have this jazz mix that I made like 2 years ago, and oftentimes at home, like on a Sunday afternoon or something, when I need to work or something, I just put the jazz mix on. So randomly, in my 2021 mix, like there'll be these songs from the past year and some Bowie songs, and then there's like these jazz songs that are just from that mix that are the fourth, some old Chet Baker song. But
love it.
But I was gonna say
find
in my top 20, there's only one Persian song.
What is it?
In fact, in my top 50, there's only like two.
Alireza Qurbani.
No.
Thanks.
No. Yeah. There's
What is it?
Dang Show, maybe a couple of years ago, the Woodmanson Dang Show. No, it's very strange, but I really like that song Virun Kon.
Oh,
The Airfon, yeah.
Oh,
in fact, I texted him. It was like number 9, most played. I just must have played it a lot. But there wasn't much else. I mean,
Was that his newer song that he
Yeah.
came on the show? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that was a good song.
It's a great song.
Nice
Yeah.
choice. Huh.
What would any notable things on
Actually,
yours?
I mean, for me as well, because these years I'm trying to like experience, practice more jazz music. Like the first 3 was Keith Jarrett Trio. And
Right.
Yeah, and yeah.
Beautiful.
It's interesting when it's not music from 2021, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that either means we're
Yeah.
out of touch or really in touch
You
with
should have
good
seen
music.
my list. It was like 4 different Brazilian bossa nova artists. Like number 2 was Sinatra. Yeah, that's me. By the way, I have a very popular vintage French playlist. It's up to almost 20,000 likes. Yeah, I made.
Oh, you make it public?
I didn't even realize it was public. And then recently, I started getting messages like, "I love your playlist. You should add like saxophone
do you
artists
wanna-
will like."
You want to say the name of it?
It's Vintage French Music. Is the
Vintage
playlist.
French music. There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently, it's one of the best.
Keon, who knew?
I know.
What podcast?
My number one, I know it's kind of lame. My number one was Rook.
Okay.
Yeah,
you
well,
listen to the show.
But if anybody wasn't Rook, I don't want you better not
Very
say so.
concerning.
Okay.
Well, we had some people post that the number
They
one was
did.
Rook.
Yes,
Oh,
they did.
yeah.
Amazing. They tagged us too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Shaya's wasn't Rook. He's looking a little guilty over there.
No, Rook was on the list, but it wasn't the number.
Number
Oh,
1?
really?
What?
You've been listening to somebody
How
else.
dare you?
Yeah.
This is sacrilegious.
No,
He
I'm
listens
just-
to the show 24/7. Yeah, this the freaking
Yeah,
thing.
he's
All we
sick
have
of
to
it.
listen back.
Something different.
Hey, a big shout out to Arash and Anita Fazelipour, the founders of MyTerms.ca, a successful mortgage company in Ontario, Canada. They believe in educating their clients to understand every aspect of the financing being obtained, and they see each transaction through from the beginning to end to make sure that they are closed with ease. If you're looking for a mortgage in the Toronto or Greater Ontario region, go to myterms.ca. They're amongst the best. Both Arash and Anita make it a priority to give back to the Persian community. Really, if you need anything to do with a mortgage, myterms.ca. Big thanks to them. We've been talking about it all show. Let's get to these debateful. Let's get to these
Novels.
these passionate letters. It's letters of the week.
Drink some water, man.
I know.
Good lung capacity on the kid, though.
All right. Like I mentioned last week on episode 157, we had Iranian-Canadian performer, promoter, DJ Aras. He's Canada's first Persian...
Aras.
My apologies.
Thanks,
DJ
Kaya.
Aras. He's Canada's first Persian celebrity DJ. And on that note, we posted a Rook moment. And it was, you mentioned it earlier, it was when he was talking about how difficult it is to run Persian events and, different things
Deal
that
with the
come up.
Persian community as a Persian entertainment business owner.
That's right, yeah. So we have a mixed bag of comments. So Farnaz S. wrote, a big shout out to Aras, who is outspoken about the truth. It's the ugly and shameful parts of our culture. No wonder a lot of Iranians try to avoid having a business or relationship within our community. And congratulations to Jian on establishing York Federation students. Thanks, Rook Team, for the amazing job. Very
Okay.
nice. All right.
Thank you, Farnas.
And then Masroor wrote saying, only in the Iranian community a DJ can call himself an artist.
Is it true?
No,
he's making a joke,
making
like,
fun of Aras.
Yeah, saying that he's not an artist, as he claims. Yeah.
A lot of people consider DJs artists.
Yeah.
Nico T. Sofianos wrote, "This is bang on, and for artists of all cultures, sad but true."
All right.
Okay, and then we have Amir Ashkan wrote, "It's $35 for the Toronto Symphony Orchestra at Roy Thompson Hall. Tens of talented musicians perform in a well-located, iconic hall for only $35. Finish the performance and show appreciation to the audience. Then our artist, in quotation he has, charges $45 for a party with no musicians in the middle of the suburbs with no access to the subway or GO Transit. In the end, our, quotes, artist is making fun of people for inquiring about the event." It's a harsh
Got
one.
personal pretty quickly.
I mean, it's a music taste, right? Not everybody likes, the symphony, or some people like
But
DJ.
can I add something?
Go
actually?
on. Yeah.
Sometimes I faced this issue about the price of comparing the Persian events and international events, and sometimes actually I agree with this letter that in some cases the price of Persian events is higher than the quality that you received actually.
True.
But it's in my opinion.
You pay for what you believe is worth your time, I guess. So obviously, there's Persian events that people want to attend, and they'll pay the price for it. So there's a reason why it's priced that way. I don't know the details, obviously, but anyway, moving on.
But he wasn't. He was comparing it to the other similar events in the marketplace. He wasn't comparing it to the Roy Thompson Hall. I don't know which tickets you can get for $35 to the Toronto Symphony. That's great if you can. That's amazing. But Aras was saying for $40, our price is a lot less than what you pay at other clubs or something. Yep. And then people say, is there going to be cello kebab? Is there going to be a massage? Is there going to be it's not enough. Yeah. So that was kind of. But I think where some people were arguing is, he was claiming that this is therefore a representation of a disrespect for art and culture. And so the question mark is whether the events that Aras is throwing and being as a DJ are considered art and culture.
All right. Username Parparkia said, "Absolute nonsense. Being anti-artist is in our cultural DNA, ? Iran is the cradle of art, including poetry, architecture, and much more." And in brackets he has, "whatever could survive under the political tensions. What you are referring to is not art.
There you go. Yeah.
It is an entertaining show which should not be $40. Why should you ask for $40 when the top-notch shows in Las Vegas is in this price range? Where on earth is mixing songs and DJing an art? Why do you mix up copyright issues with an event of a DJ? Why do poor Iranians under sanctions and in isolation should pay for these songs? So many awesome artists and bands from all over the world coming to Toronto, and I attend many of them by paying as little as $20. Why on earth a random DJ should ask for $40, as high as Roger Walters' concerts? What? Before accusing the whole community of being anti-art, look at what you produce and see if it's worth calling art. I doubt it."
Ooh la la. Wait a minute, Roger Waters concert.
Yeah, which Roger Waters concert was for $40?
I'm not sure.
Maybe $340.
Yeah, that's more like it.
But or $140. Okay, well, the point is made. I mean, this person doesn't think that what
DJing
Aras is doing is worth it. That's it's a tough argument because to somebody, I mean, if somebody who's not into hockey might going to see the Toronto Maple Leafs is $350, which it is, by the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the cheapest
to see a hockey game.
Wow.
Basketball games are close.
Basketball games are in the $200-$300.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it depends on what you consider worth it. Right?
Exactly.
But I think the point that may be getting lost here is that the sad part of what Aras was saying, whether you agree with him or not, is that it's his experience that Persians, when they find out it's a Persian event, want to pay less.
Yeah, they want a discount.
They want
Let's
a
put it that
discount.
way.
Yeah.
خب Banafshe Sanjide wrote, so true and sad. So he's agreeing with Aras. Okay. She, sorry. Not only do they ask for cello kebab to be included with the ticket, they bring their own drinks in water bottles too.
Yeah,
that's true. I've seen that done, and
I've
it's
seen that too.
shameful.
I mean, in Iran, you have to do that because
It's
Right.
illegal. Drinks are illegal.
I guess they bring that.
But
did you
here
do
it's
it?
so funny.
Instead of paying like what, I don't know, $10 for a drink at the bar. Anyway. خب Farhad wrote, with all due respect, whoever is a critic of a community's culture first has to put away their bias. I've heard some of your talks and I really like your media style. In spite of this, your content is really getting worse in terms of generalization and stereotyped illustrations. These issues you're talking about are widespread and universal. They don't seem to be culture specific. I don't know what he's...
Like this particular one that we're talking about, like Aras is a genuine example of it. He says he's done Persian events and non-Persian events. With
Right.
Persian
He's
events,
been doing this for years.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean-
Farhad, I think you're absolutely right that we shouldn't generalize, and we certainly try not to stereotype, but we're actually trying to have a conversation within our culture about issues within our culture. And the question around whether art and culture is respected, whether you consider DJing art, let's put that aside. That question is a very, very relevant one to Persian artists. I can tell you that. There's no one, I can't even think of anyone who's come on the show that hasn't had some kind of an issue with that, who would consider themselves a Persian artist or who have been even very successful as an artist, whether it's the painters we've had on the show or Hamid Nikpeh or whomever. But, yes, generalizations, these are widespread issues in terms of culture, sure, yeah. And as ever, thank you for the letter.
All right, moving on. Saya wrote, guys, stop the generalization. Every community has different types of characters. It's not just Iranians.
All right.
True. Samsul wrote, a lot of Iranians go to concerts already drunk, so they don't have to pay for the drinks at the bar.
Now, that's not just Iranians.
Yeah, that's true. Let's not generalize here. Well, Sohaila Zarabi wrote, Aras is amazing. I know his mom for a long time. Great choice.
Right.
That's sweet. Kate Gaskill wrote, it could be that he attracts a certain demographic, like that's his crowd. How can a DJ that plays to a specific crowd in Canada speak about all Iranians' culture? How small-minded and judgmental to say that it's in our DNA not to appreciate art. I find it loathsome when people make a blanket comment about anyone's culture based on one thing. This is across all communities, not just Iranian community. Perhaps his experience is with a particular demographic. Artists are revered, respected, and loved in our culture. This sounds like a DJ in a bar with alcohol, not really art.
Wow.
She had me there. I was like, yeah, these are good points. And then at the end, the
Really
judgments,
around,
this
yeah.
isn't art. Yeah, okay. Well, it's a form of performance, certainly. But all right.
Okay.
But that's a good letter. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
good points made there.
Yeah. Well, finally something positive. Letter of the week.
Keep the letters coming. We like the
Yes,
the
please.
challenging letters.
Yeah.
All right. No problem.
This week's letter of the week goes to Azita Lashkari. She wrote about the contemporary history of Iran.
Oh.
She wrote saying, thank you so much for your series on the contemporary history of Iran. I just listened to your interview on the Shiraz Festival. Thank you for bringing this to life with Vali Mahlouji, as someone who seems to have an in-depth knowledge and not just some superficial hearsay. I really enjoy the depth of your interviews and the guests you invite who have true knowledge on the subjects they discuss. More power to your team. It is a breath of fresh air to hear about subjects that I had thought were long dead.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Very nice. Thank you, Azita.
It's a good one.
Fabulous. But was the Shiraz Festival really art? Or was it?
I don't know.
Was the Festival of Arts really arts,
Was
or
it
was
really
it?
art though? And was it worth the 40
Was
bucks
it worth the
ticket they were
$40 to
charging?
go to the Persepolis for that festival? All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Captain Reza Shah, the fabulous Keon. This is full time for Rook for today. More to come next week. We'll go through our Spotify playlists. Tune in this Thursday for the contemporary history of Iran. And if you haven't checked it out already, the new program Unmarried Persian Girls on its own platforms as well, that gets posted every Friday, featuring our very own Kian Nademi. Our website, rookmedia.com. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together. Savvy Roham, talented Anahita, producer Susan, Ponce the artist, the fabulous Kian, Super Parisa, Ahoy Mertad, Captain Reza, and Gubi Shaya. Thank you to all of you out there supporting us and sharing our content. Please subscribe if you've not done so already. Find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. Mizun Bashi.